I can hear it now. Band takes the field, and out of that eastern tunnel pour 215 well-drilled, well-disciplined Michigan bandsmen. They pour over the eastern sideline, they pour in the big block in, and they play the greatest college fight song ever written.
Well, Seth, I think we're going to need some new highlights on the old intro there.
I think people are going to remember moments from this game like many years from now.
Many years from now, like somehow a ball skipping off somebody's finger, maintaining a perfect spiral, and hanging in the air for about 3 years before something happened. And stuff could not have gone much worse in the third phase of the game with special teams. But
I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it.
You know what? I mean, talk about something that's also fixable and something that seemed like a fluke. And if those flukes don't happen, I think this is a 2-score game, at least on our side. So going into Alabama, a lot of us thought it would be a coin flip. It seemed better than a coin flip if we were to have to run it back. So not feeling too bad about this week.
Well, Jake Thaw held on to the ball, so we don't have to talk about special teams anymore. Michigan stopped them, so we don't have to talk about their quarterback running all over us in the second half anymore. And Michigan completely shut down their passing game. So that's kind of interesting going into a game that's going to be all about shutting down a passing game. Now, Alabama's passing game is not nearly as good as Washington's, but I don't get into that either. I thought we'd get into how Michigan stopped the quarterback run at the end of the game, because the last play has been talked about a bunch. Nick Saban talked about it, which I think added some confusion, even though I think people are misunderstanding what he said. And I just kind of wanted to go through it, show you kind of how it all broke down from the coaching standpoint and also broke down from the play standpoint, because people are getting it wrong in a lot of different ways. And Michigan had this thing probably beat, but not 100% beat if Alabama doesn't screw up a couple things. So I wanted to go into what actually Alabama was trying to do, what Michigan was trying to do, why Michigan kind of had a coaching win, an RPS win on this one, what we call it in our charting, and just kind of like break down this play so much. So when they are showing this thing on the scoreboard in 50 years from now, and you're there with your grandkids, hopefully, 30 years. 20 years?
30
How
years,
long are we
yeah.
talking? Okay, 30 years,
Yeah.
and you're in the stadium with your grandkids. You can be like, well, let me tell you what really happened here. All right, let's go to that play, and you can talk about housing and stuff while I break into this.
Rates are good. People are buying houses. The market seems to be waking up for the spring a little early. Realtor and Lender.com can help anybody in the state of Michigan with either buying a house, help you find one as a realtor, selling a house, investment properties, all that, or help you with the mortgage, as we've talked about for years on the blog. So, Seth, this play seemed like it took an eternity for this snap with all the timeouts and everything. And
there's an injury first, right?
There's an injury, and if I'm Alabama right here, you got 3 yards to get with the best athlete in college football potentially this year, a guy that, can get 3 yards in his sleep. So let's take a look at it.
Yeah. So after the injury, which gave them some time to kind of, talk about what they wanted to run, they knew they wanted to run. This is what Saban was saying. They knew they wanted to run Milroe. That's the best tool in their toolkit, right? So, and Michigan pretty much thought they were going to run Milroe. That's the best tool in their toolkit. It's what you want to do in these situations. Usually, you go to your best, because if you play on 11 on 11 and you have the best player at the point of attack, that's where you can win these games. That's where football really comes down to. And best player that Alabama has is Jalen Milroe. So first they come out in this look. This is this is before the timeouts, right? So now this is a covered receiver look. This tight end is covered, okay? That means they're going to have extra room to run off this backside. So my guess is originally what they were planning on doing was probably moving him over here, okay? And then pulling, because you see how they give me clues what they're going to do. So you got him kind of a little bit further up here, and he's a little bit, see that butt's a little bit back, that guard?
Yep.
And usually that tackle is kind of behind the guard. That's kind of a little sign that he's going to be pulling. He's got that right foot out a little bit. So I think the original play was going to go right, quarterback right, maybe the fullback leading or maybe the fullback going this way to try to get you off. And the running back was probably going to be a swing look as well. This was not an RPO. Saban said it was not an RPO. There was no tag to it. That was just freebie. That's just getting that linebacker out of there. Someone's got to take him, light in the box. Fewer people that Milroe has to face. That's the first look. They don't like it. Michigan comes out. They've got an extra guy over here, right? They're showing you man. They're showing you that they're going to have this single high man look, which means Michigan's going to be matched up numbers wise over here, and somebody's going to be directly on Milroe. They don't like the look, so they call timeout. They go to this look. Now we're not unbalanced. Now we actually have, this tight end is now a possible pass threat. So this is what Alabama comes out with.
Go back a second. Can you move hash? Okay, it looked like for a second I thought we moved to the hash from the middle for a second. So
no,
all right,
no,
never mind.
They're on this right hash. Yeah, no, it's still the same thing. But now they've moved it around. So now this tight end is eligible, and so after Alabama's timeout, basically they flip they flip this one player to make him an eligible receiver again. Okay. And by doing so, they're trying to tell Michigan, hey, we might pass. Right now we got some play action. They're trying to get that safety out of there. Michigan comes out. They've got this look. And Michigan goes, oh, no, we're not really prepared for an RPO pass here or something. Right now they've got these extra pass targets. Michigan doesn't like the look. Alabama likes the look they get. Michigan calls timeout. They come back, and here's our final look. So now Alabama's got what they wanted. Now this guy is an eligible receiver. All right, so it's a regular formation. They've gotten rid of that fullback back there. There's no more fullback frippery, just the running back frippery, and they're gonna try to get it over here and just try to match this man one-on-one. What do they get? The same look that they just got. Michigan didn't switch their look the second time. So you have that same look, no free safety, not prepared for a pass. Okay? We're just playing cover zero. And what that's telling you is this guy's going to be, Michigan was doing this all game. They're going to bring this Sam blitz, nickel blitz, and then crash inside, and then just bring another guy around behind to protect it. That's not what you want to run into if you're Alabama. But they're out of timeouts. They don't have a second look because Jalen Milroe is a young player. They don't have something planned for that. So this is where Michigan has the advantage. Alabama has called their play. Michigan has called their bluff. Alabama's called their second play. Michigan has called their bluff. Michigan stays in the same thing. They're just rolling dice here, and Alabama does not have the check to fix this. They know what look they have. They should know what look they have, but Milroe doesn't have the look. Then you have the low snap and everything like that. But I want to show you, they've got no safety back here. See, these guys are all in line.
Yep.
This is the look you're getting. You're getting this big front. He's going to come back down here. You're going to get basically a front just like you would from like the 1900s with like a six guys on the line, 2 guys behind him, no safety back. Okay? And then just man on the outside. Pure man on the outside. Michigan's here to stop the run. They're blitzing this guy as an extra man for the quarterback, and that's why Michigan has the advantage.
Yeah, and the push that we got through the middle, all game long. I mean, extremely impressive first half with the 5 sacks. But the push that Mason Graham, some of the other guys were getting up front, you kind of expect that they can win a battle like this, but you're stacking 8 guys in the box and you're daring them.
Yeah. So here we go into the play. All right, you can see this look where this is their play that they called. Now this guy back here, this tackle, he's just a hinge block. People are like, oh, he got shoved all the way back. He did. He got shoved back an extra step. So he's supposed to be about here, but he gets shoved an extra step back by Stewart, and that causes Milroe to trip over him. But you can see the design of the play, he's not supposed to matter. That's just a hinge block. That's just the backside of the play. All right, so he's just supposed to keep everything from getting to this side of the hash. That's all he's supposed to do. So there's not supposed to be any involvement by him. This running back gets out of there. The whole idea of that is, we're going to get rid of the middle linebacker. That's one of Michigan's best run defenders. They motion out there. We can just pretend that they're out there. This play is going to take place with this box right here. This is where it's all taking place. Man-on-man on the outside, man-on-man on the inside, 11-on-11 football. You're going to pull a guard and have the quarterback run behind him. Wherever the guard makes his block, the quarterback has to just go to either side of it. It's an ISO block. So you're going to have this guy blocking somebody to one side or the other. Quarterback goes to one side or the other. Quarterback should, in theory, have one man to beat on his own. If that's a safety, if that's Samerstill, Milroe should be able to win this man on man. No frippery here. This is not like we're trying to confuse you. And Michigan's play is not we're trying to confuse you. This is not a confusion. Let's try to like get a guy wide open play. This is I'm going to get my quarterback on one of your defensive backs, and he's going to win and get 3 yards. That's the thought. That's the thought process of the play. Michigan's
Milroe's not just fast, but he's big. I mean, he's tough to bring down. So you get singled up with Samerstill. You saw earlier in the game, Samerstill had a shot at him that he couldn't finish. I mean, part of that is Milroe's essentially an extremely athletic tight end playing quarterback and fast.
Yeah. He's like baby Vince Young is what we've been calling him.
Yeah.
I do want to move that a little inside. Don't mind me messing around with the thing in the process. All right, now I got it right. So yeah, and then the backside, Michigan's going to be doing the same thing on the front side. Michigan wants to have someone crashing inside. These ends are going to be crashing into interior gaps, gumming things up, and then you're going to have somebody blitzing off this side, and then somebody sitting on either side. The guy sitting on this side is going to be Rod Moore. So really what you're going to have is Rod Moore is replacing Samerstill here. Samerstill is going to have like a further inside gap, and Rod Moore is supposed to replace him. In theory, Alabama might have a win here as long as Samerstill gets too high upfield. Because Samerstill now ends up kind of being the guy on Milroe. Now, Samerstill might be able to track inside and get right to Milroe, but Milroe is supposed to be taking a step in and getting tight to that blocker. So his momentum's carrying him upfield, and that's going to be a tough tackle to make from the side. All right, and then that will put you one-on-one with Moore, and that's how this play is supposed to work. How does the play work? Well, as
very well.
Very well for Michigan. All right. So as we know, you get this low snap. Okay. There's poor Milroe. That snapper was terrible all day. He snaps it low. He's got to pick it up off the ground. That slows him down a little bit and takes his eyes off of what's going on. Because he's got to focus on you just got to focus on what's going on here, right? So I don't think he really sees this shift over here where Michigan is taking away space, but maybe he does. Maybe he sees it out of the corner of his eye and decides, oh, maybe I got a trap block for him enough. Maybe, because when you block, when this guy's coming around, he's going to make that block based off of what he sees. That's why you have the senior pulling around, not one of these guys pulling around. That's why they were trying to have one of their older players doing it. Now, he should look up Samerstill, but he decides Samerstill is too high. Okay, I think Samerstill was getting out here to try to like bat down a pass out here maybe. So he gets pretty high on this one. You can see there is room to run. And the guard decides, look, he's not getting to the quarterback. That's his decision. Now his job is going to be find this guy.
Yep.
And make the block. Okay? Now look at Rod Moore. Rod Moore comes inside of him. Rod Moore is going to force him to spill. So now he's going to have to change his angle. Instead of kicking him out and making the gap in here, which is where they wanted to run, right? They had him blocking down here. And you get that block down from the tight end onto the edge, okay? And then you have Rod Moore filling behind him because that's the edge and that's the next gap. So you're forcing this kick out here, okay? Theory, he might be able to get around outside if he sees and turns around and gets him in there, but that's an athletic play. And as you can see, he doesn't really get a good angle on it, so Moore has an opportunity to jump up. If Moore, all Moore has to do is force Milroe to kick out far enough that if this play is being run right, and you don't have this trip back here, and you get Alabama executing perfectly, I think Samerstill and Moore have this. Because what you see is
that's what it
Moore's
looked like.
inside. Yeah, you see how he gets in there, and he just whiffs the block? So his job is this guy, right? He's blocking nobody. He's got to get him turned inside, and he's blocking nobody here. And if Milroe's out here, and he's just dodging Samerstill, the way he dodges Samerstill is he's got to kind of get closer to the line of scrimmage to get around Sainristil, and that's going to get him right into Moore. So I think where this play was really going to be won, if it wasn't lost by Alabama with their execution, this play was going to be won by Rod Moore. Because he gets skinny, he gets inside, he's too agile for this guard. And look at him, he turns around and he goes, oh, shoot, where's the guy I was supposed to block? And I think that they would have had him here. So Michigan has this play killed. We can watch the other angle on it. Here's our replay. We already have the linebacker getting out of here. So you can see, here's this wrapper. And he should be about right here, right? If he's not picking up that snap late, he's supposed to step down. And you can kind of see he's got to get around this thing, and this guy's got to look, he's got to find Rod Moore.
Well, and Seth, if there isn't the delay on the snap, a lot of the confusion doesn't happen. I'm wondering if Sainristil does get too far upfield, if the snap's not low, where Milroe does get the corner. Because if Moore crashes inside there's no help, So I think that you're right. I think there's a good chance we have it covered, and thankfully it worked out that way. But if you look right now with Moore going inside and where Sainristil is, if he comes up the field that high, he's kind of overrun Milroe and taken him out himself out of the play. If that's half a second earlier.
Yeah, and it's those little moments there, but there's a possibility, and this is what Alabama thinks at this moment here, that if they're executing this correctly, that Milroe can hop out here and take all this space in here. But there's no way for him to get there because look how Moore plays this. See how Moore kind of hides himself. So he's setting up backside. See how he kind of he's looking inside because he sees the angle that the quarterback's coming. So he wants to make sure if he gets taken down, they don't call holds inside. So most likely this is what's going to happen with this. Sorry, my mouse is in the wrong spot. Right here. Normally you're always going to see this guy get tackled on the back. No one ever calls that, right? You're just going to see this tight end tackling if he's coming upfield. And so he's kind of getting ready, but by hiding himself there, he's so agile. He's a safety, and it's really hard for a guard to change his direction when he was coming out for a kick out, looking for somebody out here, looking for a safety out here or something to help him. And he could have played this better, but they've got no shot, right? Look, the way he blocked that. Imagine Milroe's out here. He's got to get Rod Moore, and I think Rod Moore gets him down. Possibly not, but I think Rod Moore and Sainristil had this covered.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what an awesome end to the game. Do you have that Corum run pulled up by chance? I can't see it enough. I've only watched it 6 times today so far.
Okay, I can do that for you.
So I was talking to somebody about this earlier in the week, to compare. So my brother played D1 lacrosse. He tore his ACL. 6 months later he was playing, but it was like a year and a half before he felt like he could cut. And I think this month off for Corum, I mean, you saw it a little bit in Ohio State, but this month off, this cut right here is one that he was making. And we're like, where are the big runs? These are the big runs. These are the ones where there's just cuts that you don't feel comfortable. Your mind won't let your body make, even if it's full strength. And I think this month off did wonders for Corum. I just want to watch this cut. It's unbelievable.
Man. Yeah. I mean, I remember, I talked about this on the podcast a little bit too, but there was a sports science with Denard Robinson back when he, in 2010 or 2011 or something like that. And they showed the amount of power that goes into your knee in order to make a cut like that. Because the angle that Denard was using, and that you factor in his size and his weight and stuff like that, and the weight matters a lot. It takes more power to make that cut if you're moving more weight. And the amount of explosion that you're talking about there is incredible. You are talking about just huge amounts of human power in order to make that play. And remember, it was a knee injury that Corum had. So he's putting all that power on a knee that he just didn't have before.
Yeah, and it's like a subconscious thing almost too. And sometimes his strength, he wouldn't be on the field if the trainers and staff didn't think he had the strength to be healthy. It's like, does my brain allow me to do this right now without thinking? Right.
And just talking about just tiny margins here. Corum has to get, the further down he gets, the more it looks like he's coming down into this gap. Okay, so he's got this motion move right here. And see how low he gets? See how low he is? See how close he is to these guys? It's just like this. I mean, when you're playing sports with your brother and you're just you're playing keep away, right? You try to get that ball as close as possible to him. so that when you pull it away, the whip is just even more magnificent, right? You don't want to just be like here and then pull it back, because then his motion is going to actually like reach higher up to try to get you. You want to get him as low as possible and get him to like swipe as far as close to his body as possible, so he's compact and he just has no chance. And then you pull it away, and then it's just this big dramatic I screwed you, little brother.
I mean, he just
But,
absolutely sucks them all the way in there. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they think they have him. I mean,
Yeah.
look how far he moves side to side. He literally moves like 6 feet in a flash from right to left. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, and so Loveland's block here is a little iffy, right? And this guy, I mean, this linebacker is not supposed to be in there, but this block by Loveland is so bad. You're trying to get this to, they're not supposed to have two guys in the same gap, but they think they got him. Like, well, how is he going to get over there? And boom, it's just so quickly. And then look at Barnhart. Look at Barnhart, the guy that we were maligning all year, and another guy who had a major injury who's coming back. Look at how he moves here. Look at this move here. That stabs inside to get that nickel. They're gonna move inside. This is a nickel. This is like one of their best athletes. This is a Saban nickel. This is a top 250 recruit, right? And senior. He's been playing forever. He's a really smart player. I saw him make some incredible plays against Georgia. And look at Barnhart. He just gets him inside, and then completely square. Boom. All of his momentum. This guy's dead. You get that guy square, and then the rest of it. Oh, let's do another cut. I'm sorry, 5-star safety. I'm just going to use you. I'm going to use just like the tail of my wide receiver's leg to block you, and then he gets his shoulder, and
the balance. Man, well, are we going to have these kind of smiles on our face Monday night, Seth? Late Monday night.
Well, I told you at the beginning of the season what's going to happen. I haven't changed my prediction one bit. So
I like it. I mean, I do think that getting some pressure on Penix is going to be the difference. I think that's always the difference with a college quarterback. Penix is another level from anything we've seen this year. That's for sure. But their offensive line pass protects well, but they don't run block real well. I think you just sort of try and make them beat you with the run. That's what I mean.
Their running game is underrated. I think their running game is a little bit underrated. Not their run blocking, but that running back. Now, I don't know if he's available. I think it might be one of those Corum injuries where, they said he's going to give it a go kind of thing, and I don't know, because it looked pretty bad when he left the Texas game. But like the way Washington shuts down their games is they actually use a lot of screens, and then they use runs because you're playing light in the box. Their problem is that Michigan is probably the best plays light in the box team in the country, right? They've been doing it all year. They were always leaving 2 high safeties. And what you can do is they have all these different ways of attacking. Now they put it on film already. So Washington's going to watch a lot of Ohio State film. And they're going to see all these coverages that Michigan has, and they're going to have Penix ready to read some of those coverages and find some guys. They're going to hit some big plays that Ohio State didn't hit because Ohio State hadn't seen any of it. And Michigan uses a lot of these poach coverages. That was another thought of an idea. I think we might have talked about it already in the show. Michigan's poach coverages, where they bring a safety from the other side of the field. And that was, a couple of the plays that you saw that, one of Ohio State's touchdowns was a poach coverage. They lost the safety to that side. And then the Michael Barrett almost interception was the same coverage. I think we got into that before. I think Michigan's going to be using a lot of that to confuse the reads and to take away those long middle of the field shots that Penix likes so much, because he's going to go to throw those, and you're going to have a safety coming over where his eyes are not looking. And as long as he's thinking about that, you can use your regular coverages too. Michigan's going to have a lot of ways of trying to confuse him, and that's going to help the pass rush. I don't know if you can expect Michigan's pass rush to get home quickly, but you can hopefully expect Penix to be looking at some difficult coverages. And
at the very least, you can hope that the pass rush can collapse the middle of the pocket and make him move his feet. And you can see it's a couple years later, better coaching, everything, but you can see a big difference between a Michael Penix who has time to set his feet and a Michael Penix who is looking up at the sky for 2/3 of the game. I mean, Indiana couldn't block for anything, he's a great quarterback. And I think it's a bend but don't break. Don't expect Michigan to pitch a shutout against an offensive like this. You know, they're going to score points. They're going to score points. You know,
yeah, I'm saying 2021 Ohio State game where a lot of times they held them to fourth. They got them into like 4th and 3s, or at 3rd and 4, and they went for a throw, right? In Michigan, sometimes they shut those down, sometimes they don't. They're going to have to be on target. They're going to be on point with their screen defense. They were against Alabama. That's been a little bit of a hole during the season for Michigan because they like to play off coverages. So we'll see how well that they're reacting to those screens, because that's basically how they get you in the run game.
Yep, and I've been saying 38-27 is my number all week. I'm not going to back down from it, even though my nerves want me to. Well, hopefully we got some more stuff to talk about next week, Seth. This has been fun. You know, all we can do is sit there and watch and pretend like how we act during the game matters to the outcome. So I'll be wearing the same shirt, the same shirt, the same jacket, the same hat.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I can't wear a hat because my lipoma that I got removed is still. I put a hat on, it is right on my scar here, and I think it's painful. But yeah, I'll be out there, representing my Keegies. It's great because everyone, there's very few people who have Keegan jerseys. And some of them are family and friends. So, you never know if someone's going to come up to me and be like, dude, you appreciate Keegan too? Or, they're going to be like, oh, my God, that's my son. So
Yeah, man. Well, I love the jersey. I'm so glad you got to experience the Rose Bowl, and hopefully we'll have some big smiles on our face on Monday.
All right. I'm off to Houston. I'll see you.
All right, man. Go Blue.